It's Pipes Drums, and it's March 3rd, 2023. We are just really pleased to have two of the great leaders of the reigning world champions, Field Marshal Montgomery, Pipe Major Richard Parks, and brand new leading drummer Gareth McLees. Thanks, guys, for taking the time to have a chat with us.
No, thanks for inviting us, Andrew.
Yeah, it's a big change, for Field Marshal, with Gareth coming on board as leading drummer, replacing or taking over from Keith Orr, who had the role for more than 2 decades. So, Gareth, congratulations, becoming the new leading drummer. That's a terrific thing. When did you learn that you'd be succeeding Keith?
Just around the time Keith was deciding to retire, and internal discussions and that. Yeah, sort of all around the same period, and yeah, it turned out the lucky guy that was handed the reins. So yeah, very
So
honored.
was that like at the beginning of last season, or was it more around the World Championships, or well after? Or?
No, it was more sort of towards the tail end of the year, and decisions were being made here and there and stuff. So yeah, it all happened sort of just at a good enough pace.
Good stuff. Yeah, and Richard, did how about your side of it? Did you and Keith work together to determine what was the right approach for the next leading drummer of Field Marshal Montgomery, and get together and decide that Gareth was the man for the job?
Well, and I knew that Keith, after the season was over, was thinking about his future. I know he had the issue with his hand, and he was having problems with that, or he wasn't having problems with it. It was getting to the stage where he thought he might have problems going into the future, and he was trying to get some treatment to see if he could get that cleared up. But it got to the point where he thought it's not going to happen, so I need to make the right decision here. And at that stage, we did speak, and we did speak about who would be the best person, and just looking into teaching history, for example. I mean, Gareth was taught by Bobby Ray, and Keith had instruction from Bobby Ray as well, who was a very musical drummer, so both coming from the same sort of background. And also Gareth's excellent solo success over the last few years, and the fact that he has led a Grade 1 drum corps in the past with the Western Australian Police Pipe Band. So he was our pick for the best man for the job, and coming from the corps as well, it's very important that we have some consistency coming through with the new lead drummer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Gareth, looking at your drumming resume, it's quite incredible. The amount of success and the variety that you've had, not only with Field Marshal Montgomery for a long time, 2 stints coming up with the band, but then also in Australia, and your work for a spell with Jim Kilpatrick at Shots and Dykehead. But now correct me if I'm wrong, Gareth. Keith seemed to have an ensemble first approach to what he did with the corps, rather than putting the priority on technical excellence. But don't get me wrong, excellent technically too. Everyone knows that. So, what will your approach be to the drum section with Field Marshal?
Well, yeah, but to get that balance right. First and foremost, it is about the band, of course. So, ensemble, for me, it is first and foremost. But to have that nice balance of, hopefully anyway, producing good technical material, musicality. But yeah, first and foremost, that at the ensemble aspect has to be at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. And what about that, Richard? What are your thoughts on that ensemble first approach? I know we've talked, you and I have talked about that in the past in some interviews. What are your thoughts going forward for the band?
Well, the way I always worked with Keith was that Keith would get the tunes, and he would spend time listening to the tunes, getting to know the tunes, and I'd create a score, and then we would get together on practice center and drum pad just to make sure that it worked together with the music. but you never really know until you play it in the band hall with the band. So there's a whole process of learning the tune, developing the score, and making sure the score works. And I always felt that a good drum score makes it easier to play the tune, and that's how we always worked before. If the score made you feel like the tune was easier to play, then you've got a winner there. So you know, working with Gareth, we'll do the same thing. We'll make sure that it works. We'll record the practices, and we'll have detailed listenings to make sure that everything's working to its best. And that's the way we always work with ensemble, and hopefully we'll continue to do the same type of thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You know, if you think about it, the drumming is supposed to enhance the piping and make the piping better. So that it, you know, while that's an ensemble first, it's also a drumming first sort of approach.
I think we all, you know, all as pipers, you learn the tunes and you play the tunes in the band hall, and you've always got difficulties getting the tempo up and getting the expression right. And, you know, then when the drum corps comes in, it all comes together. And hopefully that's the way, you know, it's gonna continue to work.
Yeah, that's great. Why don't we wrap up here? We'll continue on that tack in the second part. We'll talk a little bit about construction of scores and things we might expect going forward. So let's stay tuned for part 2.